I can hear you well.
Everybody, we are back with another episode, a part 2 of What's It Giving. The last one.
Music for this?
Do we need music? It's a continuation from. I don't think they need music.
Oh, child.
Well, do they need music for this? This is a part 2 of.
I mean, the music kind of like picks you up. Now I have to have other ways of picking myself up, huh?
I don't know. Okay. Bluetooth.
Are we on air?
We've been on air live.
That is so late.
Oh, so we're back. Yeah. All right. So where we left off at? So what I'm saying is that a lot of people were complaining about. Well, they were basically comparing Tea Time London to Tea Time with the Girls, and we definitely, having you on here is definitely good, so that we could merge our personalities.
Yeah, because we're merging brands and personalities. It's sisterhood across the water.
Definitely. So, yeah.
I think it's amazing that we have managed to get across the pond to reach the girls in Tea Time London, because it really just shows the impact that a person can have just doing a little like YouTube show with no intentions of doing anything, and definitely no recognition for your from your own country, our ungrateful people that in the United States, and then for people in London to really appreciate and embrace us, to even want to do their own thing that actually is much more classier, better representation than the.
Okay, you guys are saying this, so I don't think it's that much classier at all, to be honest.
Honey, anytime you put an English accent on anything, it just makes it seems like more class. It makes anything more classy. I'm pretty sure if there was a UK Fox Giselle, that would probably be more classier. Hello, I'm going to do some crystal.
Okay. So basically, okay. Wait, Kachanga, what are you using for audio? Because it sounds a lot different.
I'm on my headphones.
Oh, it sounds different. Last time you sounded a little more HD. Okay.
Oh, okay.
This time she's sounding the very Fox Giselle. Right.
Well, anyway, so
I do sound different. I'm not sure what it is.
Right. So basically, originally we had this idea of making, audio podcast, since we've done Tea Time for so long, and we gave you guys so much of ourselves, and we felt like we want to lay our hair down and turn the camera off.
Yeah, exactly.
Untucked. Lay our hair down. Wig cap.
Now let's see how good you can read us without being able to see us.
So basically, we were gonna try to squeeze this topic into the last broadcast, but since it ended, technical difficulties, we're gonna make a whole new topic. So one thing that a lot of people, one thing that I have to hold on. One thing that I wanted to thank both of you girls as Black trans women is for being so open and vulnerable about your past and present. Kachanga, I know on Tea Time London, you discussed how you were overcoming an addiction. And I think that Fox has been very open about currently being in a addiction. So I think that recovery. in and out of recovery, yes. But I feel like
one foot in, one foot out. Yeah.
To have this conversation, because you know, from what the girls don't talk about this stuff, but a lot of trans women, they seem to have a lot of issues with substances. And I think that having a conversation, trying to get into triggers and reasons why trans women self-medicate and abuse drugs. You know, let's talk about the self-hate, you know, and I want to get into that conversation. And I don't want to be like, oh, I'm here, I'm the sober one. I don't want you girls to feel like
we can't really have that hierarchy. We all are muddling through, and I think because Fox is so open with, sorry to speak to you directly, Fox. Yeah, it's because you're so open about being an active addiction. People find it really hard to look down on you for doing that, when in actual fact, so many of us have struggled with substances. And if I had a camera on me when I was on Tina and G and, you know, fresh from a gangbang and, you know, falling apart and, you know, recently assaulted, recently traumatized, I don't think that I would be able to maintain the same level of humor and awareness that you do.
Oh, well, thank you. That makes it seem less messy. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I do anything different than like someone like what Lindsay Lohan or let's say Samantha James has done. You know, I don't think there's any different. I mean, do you guys see any difference? I just
I think you're a lot more. I think that you sometimes wear your self-sabotage as a badge. And I think that sometimes it's almost like you are aroused by people's negative perception of you because it feels like it confirms something. I mean, I don't want to overly psychoanalyze you or anything, but sometimes it's like you're courting. Excuse me, I'm drinking a turmeric chai latte, and yeah, sorry, that's just repeating on me. So sometimes it feels like you want to get the negative outpouring from people, not only to defend yourself, but also because it confirms something that you believe about yourself. And you're very open about your self-hate, both with regards to being trans and being dark-skinned.
Oh, wow. I feel like I'm just I feel like I'm being
You're on the couch.
I feel like I'm being dissected by the trans black version of Dr. Drew. I mean, wow, what a dissection. Oh, I feel so naked. So, I must say this. I don't ever want to try to advocate or try to glamorize my addiction or whatever, because I've known in active addiction as well as in sober recovery, you know, one of the things that we try not to do is glamorize, because, you know, glamorizing can also trigger euphoric recall for someone that is in recovery. So that's something I never want to do. If anything, I just want to show an honest portrait of what it's like. I think what gets me most frustrated more than anything is the fact that people like to pretend like I'm the only one that's out there. And that is not necessarily the case. I've told Ashley about this before, that, you know, one of my is that he's been with Sydney Star, he's been with this girl, that girl, and, you know, I'm not saying these girls are, you know, but he's dropped names to me, and oh, so and so, she hits the pookie real hard. And I think that when he was telling me this a while ago, I was like, well, you know what? I'm gonna beat him to the punch because I don't want anyone getting out to me. And also, I always also look at the intervention episode as like my big mistake but also the mistake that helped other people out. Because I always tell people that's one of my biggest regrets, but I guess it's one of my biggest accomplishments because of the fact that if I had to do it over again, I would have never done it. But unfortunately, you know, I was new in recovery, and you know, my sponsor at the time had said, just go out and just take your disease and put it out in the open, because when you put it out in the open, then you loses its strength, it loses the power. But she didn't tell me. She forgot the one part. Do it in the rooms of NA, not on the rooms of like the internet for the world to see. So, but yeah.
But it's not. But Fox, honestly, if you hadn't have done that, I don't think I would have got sober so easily.
Oh.
I had never seen a trans woman with a skin tone as close to mine be so truthful and authentic with a story that mirrored mine. Because what happened with you was that you came on with, is it Aoki? The one when she held the glass up to, she threatened you with the glass. Do you remember that episode?
No, I threatened her with the bottle. I threatened to beat her upside the head because I'm.
Yeah, and then she held her glass as if she was going to throw it. And then so you were, so that was messy, and I was living.
A glass of water, but I was going to hit her with the bottle because that was. Yeah, I was on one that day because of the fact that she was ruining my high, and I'm like, this bitch is going to try me, and I'm going to catch a case right here on camera. So yeah. But
what chimed with me was that you were fresh from surge, and you looked perfect. Your hair was laid, your face was soft, and you were just giving me real, like, Naomi Campbell refinement. And then when you came back with the following episode, the subsequent episode, saying that you were using and being open about that, and I mean this with all of the love in the world. I love you down. I really hope you don't take this the wrong way, but you didn't look as good as you did in the previous episode. But what I got was that this is a woman who is willing to be so authentic that she's willing to take that mask off and be real with how much her recovery is and how difficult recovery is. Yeah. And it made me, because at that time, all I cared about was passing. And all I cared about was looking as soft as possible and everything. And I didn't feel that I could do that. I couldn't get into recovery. And not, at the time, I really needed to put as much effort as I could into looking as soft as possible, and to reverse that and say, you know what, my recovery is much more important than being passable. That was the key to success for me. Because if it weren't for you doing that, then I wouldn't have felt strong enough to say that I could live in this world and, you know, and strive for a better life. And of course I want to be as soft and fishy and passable as possible.
Yes.
But if I don't have my recovery, then that's not coming.
When I was giving, and I agree when I look at that episode, I mean, when I was giving the second episode, that was very, very much tweaker Tina realness, you know.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So yeah, that's what you get when you tweaker Tina realness.
Yeah, you were coming down and you were being real, and but the thing was, you weren't crying, you weren't falling apart, you were sitting in your truth and strength.
A rapist by the name of Chernobiko. I mean, yeah. So I had a lot of.
How is Ms. Biko? I saw that there was some scandal over her sexual assault allegations. I
don't know who that is.
No, because I remember her coming for you and talking about your drug use, but in that story, it sounded like her drug use was,
I didn't even know she had any drug use. I think the only thing that she used was like the, you know, Laverne Cox and Janet Mock to try to, you know, push her star, you know, to, you know, use media to try to convince people that she was a, you know, an activist when she was acting like an activist, but no. Anyways, yeah. But anyways, I will say this, and I'm gonna just say this without being kumbaya and everything like that. You know, the thing that really, I think that most trans people, you know, they gravitate toward the substances because of the fact that it's an easy scapegoat. It's an easy scapegoat, and you are so rejected by so many other pinnacles and so many other areas in your life, in your world, that when everything else closed the door on you, when the tray has closed the door on you, when your best sis has closed the door on you, when this person has closed the door on you, you know, at the end of the day, you know, Tina is going to be there and she's going to accept you with open arms. But the thing that people don't understand is that, yes, I love Tina, I love drugs, and no reason for doing it, but I don't like the consequences that comes with doing drugs. You know, if it was for that, then oh yes, but I do not like the fact that I have had to lose an apartment or two. I don't like the fact that I've had to, you know, catch this STD or that STD because of the fact that I don't like the fact that, you know, I've had to wake up in the middle of the night and realize that my fire stick is gone, you know, that my car is gone, and that actually my car is still gone. I'm still trying to find that right now, you know. Basically, you know, those are things that's the unpretty side about, you know, what Tina does, because, you know.
Fox, can I be honest with you about something else? Because I feel like I learned so much about you from something that I watched. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this feels like this time was before the drugs. But there's a video of you on TMZ going into a club in LA. This is in the
oh, back in 2008, yeah.
Yeah, right?
When my first album, yeah.
That's right. So you looked phenomenal. You were living your best life, and you were with this guy, and you were going into the club.
I was there.
Yeah, and the news about Chingy had just come out, and the camera guy was asking you about that, and the guy who you were going into the club with, the camera guy gave this guy who you were going to the club with your tea because he didn't know.
Yeah.
And this guy pushed you away from him. And from this experience that went from, because you know what, look, you looked like a young Hollywood starlet. You looked like the Trans Gabrielle Union on the come up. And when that camera guy clocked your tea and told the guy, it was like the crushing of a Hollywood starlet's dream. And there was something just so searingly painful about the way that you were treated. And I think about
like
all the comments and everything that you hoped for in your career, both musically and entertainment wise and whatever. And I just feel like you had your dreams snatched away from you. And I wonder how much you feel that a lot of the drug use came in because you were so hurt by how you weren't able to realize your ambitions in that way. You know, because you are that girl who deserved a glittering music career, to go out with some sort of sports guy, to go out with someone on the Lakers or something. And, but because we're trans, we are denied a certain level of existence. So we will. I think
that one of the main important things is it's not is for, your addiction, and just to concentrate on the resolutions and the basic and what you're going to do from here, because I think what you're describing there is that pinnacle point of realization where you realize that, okay, playtime's over. That's like realizing, like what you're saying, that that was that sad point of when it went from good to worse. And I think we all can relate to that. We can all relate to, seeing our favorite star, and seeing them in their real, like, you know, basically seeing Whitney Houston try and struggling, seeing like one moment in time or so, you know, not even to hit half of the notes, or you know, being Britney Spears at the VMAs, struggling to perform, give me more, you know. So yeah, we all have those chemical moments where we've seen other people and we've seen them in the gutter of like disaster, and gutter of like shame, and just like this, in the gutter of their downfall, and rock bottom.
Well, this is what I want to say. As someone who's trans and who's never, as someone who's you know, also trans, because I feel like a lot of people say that drug use goes hand in hand with being trans. And there are so many people who I know that are not in the LGBT community who do not do drugs. So I don't like how people put on that. Well, if you're queer or if you're trans, you're doing drugs and you have AIDS.
No,
that's what everyone says.
Yeah,
so,
I do.
Now they'll say more that you're doing drugs more before they say AIDS.
Yeah, because that's true. Like, particularly because we are managing our sexual health differently now, because we've got PrEP and because we've got PEP and everything. A different situation. But I was sorry to cut you there, Ashley, but what I was going to say is that trans and drug taking isn't going hand in hand, but drug taking and trauma definitely fucking does. And there's no one
I want to get
more
to
than
that.
us who is constantly, you know, other, you know, cisgender people, they have milestones. They get to have quinceañeras and they get to have their parents at their graduation, and then they get to be able to get married and to have children. And, you know, with all of the shit that life in general can throw us at humans, the cisgender world gives you rewards for being able to get through it. When you're trans, you don't get those rewards. And I remember like being at a certain point in my transition where when I finally got sober and I realized that I wasn't able to soothe myself and to give myself the daily, hourly, minute by minute reward that drugs gave me. You know, there was something that, you know, that drinking and smoking, whether that be Tina or marijuana, I was still rewarding myself for getting through life. And I feel that without the drugs, it's really stark to me that I don't get you don't get flowers when you're taking your first hormone. You don't get like, you know, your whole family around your bed when you wake up from facial feminization surgery. You know, it's such a fucking lonely path. And you have these men who are constantly objectifying you and demanding things of your body, you know, making you feel shit about, you know, the fact that your breasts aren't big enough yet, and, you know, that you're not passable enough to, you know, take to restaurants and stuff. But they're not willing to contribute materially to your life in order to get you to that point where they would feel comfortable integrating you into their life in a more long-term kind of fashion. And I don't think it's just about us not being able to have children, because personally for me, I waited to get on hormones because I wanted to put my babies in the freezer and stuff. So I put that off, and then since then that's really calmed me down, because I don't really care that I'm not able to carry life. I just want to have the option to have a family of my own making as time goes on, and that's really calmed me down. And I did need that in recovery as well. I really needed to know that my quality of life was going to improve, that I was going to be able to increase my education prospects, that I could have a decent career and whatever. And the man side of things, the romance side of things, that is not improving, really, if I'm being honest. But in recovery, I think I'm coming up to, December the 10th will be 3 years sober.
Wow.
And thank you. Thank you so much. But I mean, honestly, to be honest, I don't want to get soppy, Fox, but at the end of the day, you do share in my clean time birthday. Like you are I don't want to underestimate how much it meant to me seeing you being open about your recovery. It helped. I literally got sober a couple of weeks after that.
Oh,
yeah, I saw you in November 2015, and I got sober on December 10th, 2015, and stuff. But yeah, I think what's important for trans girls is who are depending on drugs to improve the way they feel about themselves.
Right. That's what I wanted to always talk about. Like, where does it come from? Like, because I don't like the whole, I hate when men assume that since I'm trans, that I do drugs. I get offended. I'm deeply offended. I'm not trying to say like I'm better or nothing, but I feel like he's trying to say, you know, like,
that's what you girls do.
You're a meth head. You're a Tina head. I'm like, no.
And that's not why the girls are doing so many drugs in the first place. If it
I wanted to like get like, where does it come from? Because I always, when I see people who, you know, I care about, and I don't like seeing them high, because I feel like a lot of people who are high, like, they don't realize they can't see themselves outside of themselves as much as someone else can looking at them. So someone could say I'm high, but you can't tell. Yes, we can tell. You can tell when someone's high, you know? Because one day I feel like people, like, they're not in control. And I never wanted to get high because I'm a very, as they would say down south, I'm a scary bitch. Like, I overthink everything. I'm always, if somebody gives me a drink, I don't want to drink it. Like, I'm afraid to let go. And people have shamed me for not doing drugs and for not drinking, saying that I'm boring. But
you're scary bitch, Ashley.
Yeah, you scared, girl. You don't want to smoke? I'm like, no, because I don't want. I have that fear of someone taking advantage of me and not being in control. I have to always be in control, and I guess maybe that's a masculine part of me, but I don't care.
It's not masculine at all. That's the internalized transphobia coming through. That is not masculine. Wanting to be in control of yourself, that's not a masculine trait.
Well, I've heard that before in the past, you know. But I wanted to ask you both. I want to ask you both, where did it begin? How did it start? How do you because I feel, okay, I'm gonna be very honest, and I don't want you girls to think I'm attacking, but I feel that transitioning into a woman, taking hormones, and taking drugs, it's like you're taking away from the effects of hormones.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, if you are drinking excessively and using drugs excessively, then you are negating the impact of estrogen and testosterone blockers.
Right, because a lot of trans women who
let's be honest, the girls look a bit harder when they've been hitting it. Yeah,
when the girls are getting high, they do get harder, and it's visible. And you do see, when you take hormones, there's a certain amount of fat that's distributed around your face and your body. So if you're taking moans, looking fishy as fuck, and then go hit the Tina pipe, and then you start having cut up arms, looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's like you're really not putting your transition first.
It's the same thing as, but you know what? The fact of the man, and this is not an excuse. It's not an excuse, but
counterproductive. Thank you.
Yeah, I said that before. The impact of the euphoria and the amount of euphoria and bliss that you get from a drug like, let's say, amphetamine does not compare to the softness and femininity that you get with hormones.
Yeah, it's true.
It's uncomparable, and that is why you have Tina tops. Because I used to shame them myself. I'm like, why would you do crystal meth? You're a fucking top. You're going to the bottom if you do crystal meth. And then I start to realize that, you know, because of the fact that
it's not a choice.
You know, they don't care because of the fact that, you know, there's something that's missing in their life that they're willing to put aside the fact that going to be
they won't be able to get hard again. Yeah.
A useless top that I'm going to push into the closet while I get another top to come over and fuck me because you're not doing the job because you're a fucking Tina top. You know, so all that does not matter when you are in that pinnacle of like, you know, just like having this. It's unexplainable. It's
incomplete because at the end of the day, nothing comes before the drug, and I will never forget. I'll never forget what that feels like. And to be honest, even though I've been sober for this amount of time, and that's in the grand scheme of things, that's not that long, it still is in my body. I would still love to throw it all away for the drugs. I will never really be, and that's why I subscribe to the thing of always being an addict, because it will always be on my mind that, you know, that there's an option that's a lot more immediate than the long-term work of trying to love yourself, going to therapy, you know, eating right, exercising, breathing, sharing, taking my hormones, and, you know, growing into a woman in a spirit, in this most spiritual sense of the word. Like, all of that stuff is not very immediately. It'd be much easier just to put something to my lips and inhale. And I will never forget what it tastes like, what it feels like, that rush that will never leave my system. I'll never forget that. And that's why addicts who are in recovery and addicts who are not in recovery are going through a daily battle. And those people who don't understand why it's so hard, I think, are really lacking in empathy and compassion, but also they don't want to unpack the thinking behind it, because if they do, they'll realize that there's so many more things that you can be addicted to. There are people who are addicted to food, who are addicted to sex, who are addicted to gambling, or whatever. And because the stigma around drug taking and junkies and stuff means that people who are addicted to hard drugs carry all of the weight of everyone else's addictions.
Yes. Oh my God, you ate that.
Right. So someone, I agree.
Someone also said in the comments, Jasmine Henson, she said also drugs is introduced to girls by trade and men.
Yes. Right. I want to get to that because let me introduce that question for you girls, because I want to let you take over. So I want to ask both of you, to get straight into it, how did your addiction begin, and how much was self-hate a part of your decision to abuse drugs? I'll start with you, Fox.
Okay.
Where did the addiction begin?
Well, mine began as something, just like most people. It began as something that I did gradually, you know, like, how can I say, more as a something to pass the time by, you know, something I did with a couple of friends, and then I was always saying, oh, well, I'm just doing it with friends. This is not going to be that too good. And then, you know, it gradually went on to, okay, I'll just get a 20 bag here. And that 20 bag would last me like for about a month. And then, okay, I'll get a 40 bag. And then that 40 bag would last me like a couple hours. And then it just, you know, it progresses. And see, then I think that what a lot of people don't understand too is that when you have been doing it for so long and then you decide, hey, you know what, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to do it anymore. And I've heard people tell me that so many times. I said, okay, so you have a sponsor? Do you have a program? Oh, no, I'm going to just stop. You're kidding, right? You know, no, because they don't even understand what it's like to wake up in the middle of the night and you are feeling blasted and lit because the fact that you just got high. And guess what? You're waking up from a sweat because guess what? You had a drug drain. You didn't get high. You had a drug drain. And that's just one little thing. And I remember being 10 months clean and having a drug drain and, you know, having to call my sponsor because the euphoric recall was already starting. And I was already starting to fantasize about like, you know, this person is, and even, you know, being in New York, Ashley, you know, dating the guy that I had dated, and I think I was like 30 days clean. and he said something about my stomach, and he said, "Oh yeah, you're kind of fat now," and that just like, oh, well, I know one way to get rid of that real quick. The original 48-hour Hollywood Miracle Diet, and I mean, I would say within a couple of days, that stomach was flat. So yeah, it's like little things like that, you know, that will just pull you over the edge of like, you know, like, it's unexplainable. I'll let.
No, you did a really great job at explaining it. I would disagree. I think you explained it incredibly comprehensively.
Oh, okay. Right. So, like, how were you introduced to the drug?
So, for me,
wait. I want to give a shout out to Brianna Jenkins in the chat room. Hey, Brianna. Hey, Desiree. Hey, Jasmine. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. I want to, because as a friend, Fox, like when I always hear, and I want to thank you because, yeah, a lot of people give Fox a lot of flag and just they want to dismiss her, but a lot of the girls that are reading her, they're doing it too. And I do realize that there are a lot of girls that they will read Fox, but yet they'll get off of Facebook.
In the trade.
Right
about that in those rooms.
So I wanted to ask, like, how, like, what? Because I know that you know, what year were you introduced to it?
You talking to me or you talking to Katana?
Yeah, I'm talking to you, Fox.
What year?
Yeah. How long have you been on?
You're trying to give these girls some more bait so they can start.
No, I'm not giving them bait. I'm trying to.
The year does not matter. I was introduced at an early age, and I'm a woman of a certain age. So yeah, the year doesn't matter. I'm not going to give these girls any more ammunition to use for their reads. Like, oh yeah, Fox has been doing drugs since 1995. Yo.
Okay. No. Okay, but what I want to say is, okay, how much? Okay, so what are your triggers? I want to ask, what are the triggers? Like, how does someone just realize, okay, I'm going to do drugs? Like, what are the triggers?
No, it doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
A lot of triggers can be things that you do when you are doing the drug. Like one of the reasons that is
so what makes you pick up? I'm trying to understand.
I'm trying to tell you. Okay, one of the things that they tell you in CMA, Crystal Meth Anonymous, which I feel like for most methamphetamine users is like one of the worst fellowships, because, you know, half the time I've gone to CMA, I usually have met a dealer, have got to connect, or I leave CMA wanting to do drugs instead of like wanting to clean from drugs. Because, you know, so anyways, but that's a whole totally different subject. But what I'm trying to say is that with the triggers and everything like that, CMA, they tell you suggestions like people, places, and things. Stay away from people, places, and things. Okay, check. Then they tell you things of okay, then you should also refrain against not using drugs. Duh. Okay, and then they tell you, oh yeah, for 30 days, refrain against having sex. That is the hard, because we all know that us being trans and sometimes it's just being just flat out whores, you know, that's going to, you know, be a little bit easier.
Can I interrupt you and ask, instead of talking about being trans and stuff, why is it hard for you personally to give up sex for that amount of time?
You know why? Because when you go to the self-hating thing, one of the ways that a lot, I'm going to speak in general, because like I said, I'm not going to give these hoes no more ammunition, but one of the main components for self-hating trans women that they have is sex. Because if they already hate themselves, then, you know, one of the only ways that they can, you know, sex.
I don't mean to be, I really don't want to be rude, but just because I'm so obsessed with learning about you specifically, not talking about trans women in general, talking about you. Are you saying that you are validating yourself through sex because your self-esteem is that low?
Yes. And see, so therefore, when you take that away, then you're saying, okay, so there's no drugs, God damn, do I even live? So then basically that's where it becomes hard. But see, here's what I do understand. I do understand that sex is a big trigger, because when you are so used to having sex on a mind altering drug that is basically feels like, oh, Katy Perry fireworks, and then you take that component away, and now all of a sudden it's just slow and mundane, like having sex with Mr. Magoo. I mean, it's a big difference. So therefore, you know, it's a big difference. It's a big difference. So therefore, when you are having sex and then they say the suggestions is not to have sex, I understand. I understand, because like when I want to have sex, I'm gonna start thinking about, oh, I'm gonna have this component. I want to have this big dick, and then, oh, it will feel so much better if I did this and I did this little cocktail. You understand what I'm saying? Because you start associating all the things that go along with sex, and usually it is a mind-altering substance by a hateful, self-hating bitch that is always in your corner to tell you to do more, called Tina. So yeah.
I just want to know from both of you girls, like, where does the self-hate come from?
And the thing is, Ashley, I think you're asking this as if it's specific to us. And I think, of course, we do have our own specific stories. So, yeah, that's what I was obviously trying to get from.
Right, because when I see you both, I see both of you are both beautiful Black trans women. And I cannot unpack why. And I understand, Kachunga, you're 3 years clean, but looking from the outside in, I don't see, I can't understand why.
Honestly, for me, it started way before I was an adult. It started in childhood, when I realized that when I had to, as a child, I had to think of a reason why the assault and the trauma was happening. And with my child's mind, I decided the reason that was happening was because I was so dark. That's what the world was telling me. You're this dark aberration of a person. And in my head, I just couldn't get away from that fact that I was never going to be a girl, and that my skin color just meant that I was never going to be attractive, and I was fat, and I was just this fat Black bitch. That's why I just never looked at myself as being someone of value and of worth. And then, in spite of I was always quite academically focused. And when I was 17, I was thrown out of home when I came out. It was, in my head, I put all of this effort into trying to be the perfect child. And here I am homeless after everything. I got all the A's. I read all the books, and it didn't matter because, I can't be their son, so I'm worthless. And so for me, when I was 17, I was sitting in a pub with my friends, begging them for alcohol and drugs, just because the pain of the rejection was so searing. I was rejected. I don't think I will ever get over that pain of being thrown out of home. And to be honest, the drugs and the alcohol, it suppressed the intellectual, rational side of what was going on. So during that time, I didn't really speak to myself about being trans in my own mind that loudly. And I also didn't really spend a lot of time thinking about my internalized racism as well. I was seeing all of my lighter skinned friends around me have relationships and be called pretty and whatever, and I just felt disgusting. I just really felt so fucking vile. And the drugs helped. They helped me have sex. They helped me, and the people who were having sex with me, I looked down on them too. Because here I am, knowing how abject and disgusting I am, and you want to have this body. You don't want me like you want anyone else, because I'm sleeping with men who have, all these pretty light-skinned wives, and you know, they're only going to come see me between the hours of 12 a.m. and 4 a.m. So I knew what kind of person that made me. And it wasn't really until I came into contact with like Black feminist literature that I could see the number that had been done on my mind. And I could see that the way that I spoke to myself about my body and my skin color it wasn't really my voice. You know, there were things that I was saying to myself that I didn't have that in my head when I was born as a child. There was a blissful, innocent time when I was actually quite okay with, you know, that side of myself. And I knew that I was a girl, and I didn't think that there was anything wrong with being so dark. And then as I got older, I was told that there was everything wrong about being those sorts of things. So, yeah, when I finally got sober in rehab, this was before I relapsed in after. But when I finally got sober, all of the truth came out. And it was like an eruption. I could see how ardently I wanted to transition. And I could feel the hate that I had towards my skin. I just really didn't feel like I could have a decent life as a dark-skinned person. It sounds so dire to say that, but I really didn't. There was such a strict racial hierarchy in our social groups, and I find it really hard when I'm speaking to light-skinned friends about this, where they try and pretend like, you know, but you're beautiful, whatever. It's like, we all see it. There is no successful dark-skinned R&B songstress right now. We know this. Black men even, like, do you know what I mean, are actually the worst. Like, do you know what I mean? We are constantly told that we are not as attractive. Like, look at your hair. You look. It's even Serena fucking Williams. Michelle Obama, the first lady of the fucking US, was called a fucking ape. Do you know what I mean? And like, people want to pretend like it's easy for us to move through life as darker skinned people. We can't even buy fucking makeup. You could go out and get a fucking salary and be earning top dollar, and then you go to, you know, department stores and they don't have your fucking shade.
Or they follow you around. There's been plenty. Yeah, I don't mean to like pull your card, Fox, but Fox has gone live a lot of times. She's gone Facebook Live a few times at like
in Walgreens, and as soon as I walk in the makeup counter, they say assistants in the makeup counter.
Security. Yeah, every time, like there's been a few times Fox has been Facebook Live, or she's called me, and then they usually say security to the makeup department. So, and what I think is so important.
Okay. And that's irrespective of what you're wearing and how much money you have in your purse. Because obviously you guys don't know the stores in London, but the higher end stores like Selfridges and Harvey Nichols and, you know, the place where you go. But I've had times when I've been going out with rich white men, for example, and they've either given me a bit of money or, you know, their cards to go shopping and stuff. And, you know, I will put my designer bag on, bitch, and I will, you know, fluff my hair out and, you know, wear my best garments and go to these places, and it doesn't matter to them. You know, you're still treated like, you know, that nigga from the ghetto, like, follow that. Yeah.
I will say this, Kachanga, and this is something that I'm sharing for the first time with the live Tea Time audience. When we first started Tea Time with the girls, and Ashley can relate to this too, that, you know, it was 3 of us, and people know who those 3 were, but one thing that used to always get to me, and I don't know if it ever got to Ashley, was that they, like, when when guys would always describe us, and they'll say, yeah, the 3 girls on the YouTube show, and they'll always describe me as the black one, Ashley as the light skinned one, and they would say, yeah, and that sexy Asian one. And I remember one, and that also, you know, used to feel a lot of my self-esteem, because, you know, I was always constantly in the shadow of Milan, and then we were friends at the time, and then going to cities where we're both like basically working ads off a back page, and you know, she's just really just started transitioning, and everyone's calling her phone, and I'm like looking at my phone like, is my phone even on? Just like constantly, and even to the point where I remember one particular time we was in the Garden State Mall, and there was these these college basketball players. One is actually very popular right now, very fine, and he was trying to flag me down, and I was like, oh yes, I'm over here, daddy, and he was flagging me down, and mind you, he said, yo, can I holler at your Asian girlfriend? And I'm like, wow, you just flagged me down. She said she want to holler at my Asian girlfriend. And it doesn't get, it gets worse than that. How about having someone hit you up on your Badu profile or POF profile to tell you that, hey, your Asian girlfriend that you always hang around, the real bad one, you know, you holler at her for me. You know, even after she left the show, we would sometimes get, you remember Ashley, we would sometimes get guys that would leave comments in the messages saying, hey, little Asian one, do you have her contact info? You remember that?
Yeah.
Well,
I want to say this.
I think one time you thought it was you that they were talking about, Ashley, and the guy had burst your bubble. No, the little cute little Asian one.
He didn't burst my bubble. Yeah, I'm not. That did not burst my bubble. You could. Yeah, I don't feel a way when a guy wants another girl. It doesn't burst my bubble at all. You're missing out. And I have a different. See, we're all different, right? So what may affect you won't affect me.
Yeah, and I do.
I do know I have light skin privilege. I cannot lie about
that. That's the thing. Because I think sometimes, actually, I think you argue as if you have a stronger mental fortitude than myself or Fox, and I don't think that's all the way true. Of course, you were raised to love yourself, and there's a part of you that has an unquestioning value, or that doesn't question your self-worth in the same way. But I know that that's from a position of being light-skinned and of being on the street, for example, and having men chase you down saying red bone, light-skinned, etc. And we don't do that. I've never in my life had anyone chase me down being like, oh yeah, dark skin. Like to live your life with the consciousness that you're at the bottom of a hierarchy.
That you're pretty for a dark-skinned girl.
Yeah.
Right. Well, one of my best friends is a dark-skinned trans woman. Shout out Chanel. Yeah. And a lot of people, like when we go out places, and she is like you said, Kachunga, you could tell someone that they're beautiful, but how society and how men treat Black women, it doesn't like equate. Like it's like, but that's not what. Yeah. So we'll be out, and men will they'll be really, really rude and horrible to her, and I have to shut them down. Like, you don't just push my friend away like she doesn't even exist. And to talk to me, and I would think she's way more real than me, but they will put all that aside to talk to a lighter skinned girl or even a white cross-dresser. These men will put a lot of these men, let's be honest, a lot of these trade, let me say this. A lot of these trade and men, that's why I say do not give all. I don't give these dudes any fucking power, any credit. I treat them the way that you want to treat me you want to use me for sex, I'm going to use you for sex too. It's an equal deal. So a lot of these dudes, what they'll do is they will put down a dark-skinned girl, but they will put a white cross-dresser above a dark-skinned trans woman with work. You could be a dark-skinned trans woman with FFS and body and still, but they will hit that white CD up first.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not even a CD. Sometimes it's a gay man but in a dark apartment.
Yeah, I know those CDs are going through it. Ever since Craigslist is over, those CDs are mad. Right. So yeah, I sometimes sit back and you know, the things that I complain about as someone who is, because a lot of people, they like to how do I put it? I understand what a lot of white trans women say. They say that they don't like the fact that people always say that they have privilege, because there are some white trans women and white queer people who are struggling, who are homeless too. But
not because they're white. No one is coming for them because they're white. And that's why I have a real issue with that. Because I remember watching this roundtable with Trace Lizette and Laverne Cox or whatever, it was like trans actors around the table, and she was talking about the fact that that she didn't feel that her white trans identity was as hard, like, or as exotic, or she was as wanted from an entertainment perspective, because people were looking to represent trans in the country. She was really speaking as if that was a position for coming from a position of being underprivileged or being overlooked, and it just really burns my pussy, as Maya from Marshall's Plate would say, because no matter what you're going through, I cannot take away the trauma and your pain from being trans, but that's not coming from you being white and trans. That's not, that intersection isn't harmful to you.
I think
if you added your blackness, if you added blackness to that, do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous.
I think in the face of racism and colorism, you know, it's very easy to think that white privilege makes everything better. And in a lot of cases it does. But I think it's very important that, you know, we be sensitive to our white our white trans sisters' sensitivity to that sensitivity. You know, we have to be sensitive to the fact that, you know, Gigi Gorgeous, you know, basically never acted a day in her life. I don't even know what talent she has, but you know, she has a CoverGirl contract, you know, for no reason at all. But you know, we gotta be sensitive to that fact. You know, we gotta be sensitive to the fact that she can, you know, take trips to Dubai and you know be not let into the country like being transgender for absolutely. Once again, why is she in Dubai? What does she do?
And also, there are some light-skinned trans women who have that get the same kind of treatment because they're light-skinned, and they are getting booked. They are getting booked. Let me no. I'm saying they're getting booked to speak about racism when they really don't face racism. I have an issue. I have an issue with light skin. I have an issue with light skinned trans women speaking about racism when it doesn't really affect them as much as dark skinned trans women. I feel like you should.
You know, Ashley Marie Preston only gets booked if the coin is right and the media is right.
Well, I mean, listen, that's not fair.
That's not way. Ashley Preston is a. That's not. She's not a light skinned trans woman. She's a black trans woman.
And Janet Mock only gets booked when she has a book coming out.
Yeah, no, but that's just her being mindful of her career, though. I mean, that's unfair. Also, she works harder than a Jamaican. Honestly, she really does. Like you can see.
I really fucking love Ashley Marie Preston. And at first, I'm gonna be honest. At first, I thought that I thought that she was just a fame whore. She was trying to come for Caitlyn to get. But not only did she come for Caitlyn, that bitch came for what? The drugstores. She's coming for a lot of people. So that's why I love her, because
she's across the board.
Some people get their foot in the door and then they close the door. And she's continued to do stuff to advocate.
She does a full spread for what was that magazine? What was that magazine? Teen Vogue. She's the only actor to accomplish doing a full fashion spread as an activist for Teen Vogue. That takes that is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly.
Right, but I don't understand what were you saying when you brought her up? I couldn't understand why you brought her up. What were you saying?
You were talking about these women, these women that are getting these gigs and they're speaking on these issues.
Yeah, but
right.
Ashley specified light-skinned women speaking about racism over dark-skinned women without bringing us to the table. And also, there's just the fact that they are in a position to bring us to the table. You know, that to be honest, that why you wouldn't seek out someone who is darker because the racism that they're going through is going to be more virulent.
Right, because they don't want to cut that check. Mm. But and also, yeah, they don't want to shoot his face. But I feel that what I wanted to say, yeah, like if someone told me, if someone reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm from so and so, and I want to talk about being Black and trans." I'm an Afro Latina girl, and if I'm wearing the right makeup, I could pass as a multiracial white woman with a tan. I would call Fox Giselle if she was in New York. I would call Jaisha Kylie. I would call so many different girls that I know who really have to deal with struggles of being a Black trans woman. I have privilege. When I walk into spaces, they look at me like, "Oh, you're probably mixed. You're Dominican. You're Panamanian. I never get you're Black." They always want to give me that. "Oh, well, you're not all the way Black. You know, as if being all the way Black is bad." So I hate when I see.
You think you're trans or you're Black first? Which one do you think?
Which one comes first? Me being Black? I think people see me as trans before they see me as being Black.
Wow! Really? God, I can't even imagine what that would be like.
It was like, oh my God, is that Black China or?
I have to be honest, and I
can't see the resemblance.
Sometimes I feel.
I mean, the only thing that's missing is you don't have Young J Almighty on your. Well, do you?
Right, but people. Still, I do get like yeah, and I guess that comes with being light skinned, being compared to beautiful light skinned women. A lot of people come up to me and say, "Oh, you look like Nick." You know, I feel like sometimes they're blowing smoke up my ass, and half the time they are. But they'll tell me, "Oh, you look like Cardi B. Oh, you look like Nicki Minaj." Like they'll always say that as if it's such a good thing. But like, I don't see like telling her like. Some people consider her light skinned. Depending on the lighting.
That awkward silence said it all. I'm not saying nothing, but I'm saying something.
No,
back to these men. I feel like a lot of these men, especially Black men, they fuel the self-hate that a lot of Black trans women feel. So,
it inspires competition between us because the men do that to us. Like that's where a lot of the animosity between light skin and dark skin women comes from, because we know where we're being placed on the male hierarchy, particularly with men of color. They're going to value the lighter skinned amongst us, and so that means that our relationship with each other is going to be tense and competitive.
Right. But it doesn't have to be. It does not have to be.
It doesn't have to be, but unless you are infusing your life with a solid, radical, anti-racist politics, then there's no chance. I will. The only time for me when I've had a successful relationship with another light-skinned woman, light-skinned Black woman, has been when she takes anti-racism that seriously that she will dismiss that privilege to support me.
Oh, that's
the only way it can work. My sister is several shades lighter than me, and we've dealt with this in our relationship. And I can actively say that it wasn't until she was vocal about that privilege and made sure that when we are being categorized and people are trying to privilege her over me, until she stood up and said no, and started to defend me in front of my face and behind my back, there was no chance for our relationship to really deepen. And I've lost so many light-skinned friends, and I've had so many of them being able to leave me and say, oh, Kachenga's jealous, Kachenga's insecure about being darker. And I can think of all of the different anecdotes when I was experiencing racism in front of their faces, and they sat there in front of me, witnessing me going through racism, sipping their drinks.
You know, Ashley, I have a question for you. So that's very powerful. So would you be willing to put aside your light skin privilege and, you know, put aside your privilege just as a light skinned woman and your self pride in order to help your darker skinned friend, me, and, you know, basically feel better about herself and also stay in recovery? You know, would you be willing to put down and let me have a couple of pieces of your trade and stuff like that? You know, and
what? No. I know. I can cover. Wait, no.
I can cover. It's all about
Wait, what?
Out. You know, putting yourself down to help another sister up. Especially if you already know that you already have. Basically, you're just suspending your self pride to help another trans sister out.
I just don't see how that's helping someone out. Like, if you really feel that trade, you think that these trades I just feel, you see, I think that's a problem, that you put so much faith and value into men.
Mm-hmm. That's just an example. I mean, if you want to give me one of your blonde wigs or something like that, that's another way you can do it too.
Right. I'm sure there's a wig drive coming up. There might be a wig drive sometime.
But no, I'm saying, would you be willing to downgrade yourself in order to uplift your dark skinned sister? I think that's what
Yes, because I have because I know that opportunities. No, you're not having my trade. No, what I'm saying is no. No. Let's be serious here. So you're saying what I am willing to
downgrade yourself.
Not downgrade myself, but if opportunity came my way that I feel would be more beneficial for someone else, especially a trans woman who's darker than me, who has less opportunities, I will pass that along to them. But there are light-skinned girls that do not. They want to just take, and they don't give back. Look at all the trans girls who moved to New York City. They move to New York City, they get whatever they want, and then they leave, and they don't give back to New York City. You know, if you go to the Village, there's a place.
I left involuntarily.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about people move to New York to you know, they want to become successful, whatever. Like trans people, like let's say, like, okay, let me use an example, which I really don't want to, but let's say like Laverne Cox. She moved to New York City from Alabama, like yourself, and she's successful now. Now she's in LA. She's living her life. You know, I feel like the girls forget about the little people in New York City who have the. Let me continue. There's so many girls that are sleeping. So many trans girls who are sleeping right now in the Village on, you know, trains that no one's helping them out. The agencies are turning them away because they don't want no trans people in shelters. You know, people who have the money need to give back to the community, and especially New York City. I'm not you keep interpersonalizing everything I'm saying. I'm not talking about you.
Ryan Murphy has helped out the whole New York transgender community with Pose. I must admit, there was
that's good. That is good. That's
it's true. Ryan Murphy probably wins Ally of the Year award, right?
That was in that first season of Pose, playing the background. So I think Ryan Murphy, if those girls were too busy getting high in the Village or at the after parties or at Evolve, that they cannot get that call out to go and audition for Pose, that's their problem. But, you know, the opportunities are there, you know?
I don't know. I don't think that... I would argue.
And
I
all the
don't think,
opportunities that we put out
I
for the
don't think
girls
they
to come
are. I think that we're compelled to hustle in creative, innovative ways, and I think that the fact that we make it through is quite miraculous, to be honest, considering what's set up against us.
How long?
But I wanted to say 2 points. Firstly, that the complication I found with my ethnicity, with the way that I found through with my color is that because I'm objectified racially because of my dark skin by white men, I've definitely used that for my financial advantage. So I find it really weird that because I've been out with so many white men, it's really funny that those who are really into black girls, that they're the ones who want you to have like your natural hairstyles and stuff.
Yes.
Really, it's so weird. So like because I remember I was sleeping with this Caribbean guy, and after we'd had sex, we were like lying there and having pillow talk, and he was talking about the fact that he liked biracial girls because their hair was so soft and everything. It was really weird because he'd literally like just come inside me, and it was like, okay, yeah. And he was like talking about biracial girls with love, whilst I was just like there as, you know, his cum receptacle. But then when I got into a relationship as a work over soon after, you know, I had braids and I'd had like different kind of long hairstyles, and the style that he liked the most were my natural hair in twists. He went crazy for it, and I couldn't understand it. I'm like, why is it that it's my most African looking that turns you on?
This is what I've come to realize, Kachanga, and this is not me being like some people will say, oh, she's being negative, oh, the great storm, negativity is coming our way. No. Basically, it is those people, I tend to think they like to sexualize culture. They like to sexualize our culture because when you look at sometimes you have to look at what they're coming to. Oh, I love your big black lips and you know your skin. You know, even sometimes you can see it, and I see it in like websites like blacked.com, you know, and how they get these little innocent white girls to be dominated by the dark skinned black guy, and you know, it's just like, oh my God, it's so big, it's the biggest cock I've ever had. Oh my God, and it's like this bitch is like 18 with the black cock, but still, they're fetishizing the culture. You know, they're sexualizing the culture, and I think that we've talked about before briefly. Me and Ashley talked about how, you know, a lot of times that, you know, when it comes to even white guys, I feel like white guys love to fetishize and sexualize black trans women. Like,
yeah, that's true.
I love BBs.
Yeah, I love yeah.
Oh, I want you to. I want to fantasize about my wife getting fucked by a big black cock, but it has to be on a woman. You know, so yeah. So sometimes it's very important to realize, like, if it's them admiring or if it's them just sexualizing our culture.
No, I'm really aware of that occurring, but I think when I was talking about having to be creative and stuff, it's not like a talent, but I've definitely capitalized on that and made sure to be materially rewarded for that fetishization.
Which is smart. If somebody's using you, you need to get some coin. I'm sorry.
True.
But there's a lot of girls out here.
There are boundaries there. You know, I'm not like, you know, getting into like hardcore race play or anything, but you know, I've been very aware that whilst I'm being fetishized, that I won't run away from that situation until I've got my coin, for sure.
Right. Like I honestly, like, I don't know. Like, when I was engaged in sex work, I was afraid of white men. Like, I would never see, and a lot of girls, a lot of girls, you know, a lot of especially my Black trans sisters who are darker than me, the Black men respected them and they, you know, paid up front and everything. I always dealt with issues with them where they're like, you know, oh, if you don't do this, I'm gonna call the cops. Like, I don't have time for that. Like, I never had. I got a big dick, but I haven't, like, Black men, when I was doing sex work, Black men treated me better than white men treated me. And I, you know, part of that probably is because I'm light skinned, curvy. So they probably said, I'm going to treat me better than they treat Black girls, right?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I had a white guy, bad situation with white men where they're basically like, I had this white guy, because, you know, I don't do drugs. So the white guy was trying to get me to do coke and I refused to do it. And he's like, well, that's what I want to do. I'm paying for you to come. I'm paying for you as a companion. And give me back the 300 then. I'm like, you want me? And then I went to use the bathroom and I called one of my girlfriends and said, girl, this white guy is flipping out because I won't get high with him. And she was like, girl, just do it. I'm like, no, I'm not going to fucking do it. But I can see how many girls are in these situations where they feel like they have to get into the drugs. For
definitely.
You know, I'm going to tell you this, Ashley. A lot of white men probably have a lot of animosity and hostility toward you because when they get you, they're kind of like having to settle because what they really want a dark-skinned girl, you know, with a big BBC, and they're kind of feel like having to settle for, you know, the half Black girl. So there's really not what they want.
And they want a girl to, and they want a Black girl to be. They want you to have a big dick.
They want to have. They want Megan Good with Black China's body, but Mandingo's dick. That's what they want. Rock hard.
No, not really. I don't even think they want. They don't want Black China's body. They want the girl to just be like. Built like a hole with a big dick.
Quarter in and have her fuck them to oblivion.
I don't think a lot of the white guys care about femininity when it comes to when they're messing with Black girls. They just care about the dick.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's. I found that interesting, and I don't want to.
Because they see Black girls as being they see Black trans girls as being aggressive. They want someone who's aggressive and dominating. That's why they want you to. They like to be manhandled and all this and that.
Yeah.
So they would not go for the girl that has the Megan Good or the Black China body.
I want to be your.
They want you to make them their little bitch so that they can call the cops when things go wrong and say you robbed them.
I want you to fuck my wife. Oh my God. Yeah, that's so hot. And then the shit gets real when you say, oh, okay, well, I'm going to have my Black friend come out and he's going to fuck your wife. Oh, is he a tranny? No, he's a Black guy. Oh, no. I don't want that. I don't want that. No. It has to be a tranny. That's when shit gets real. Yeah, he wants the tranny because he doesn't want the violence. That Black guy, yeah. That Black guy will fuck your wife and probably take your wife.
Oh my. Oh damn.
I have a meeting that I'm going to be having. My sponsor is calling me right now.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I need to write my gratitude list.
Sponsor. Yeah, she's calling me right now. So I have to go ahead and go. I love this time that I have with you guys.
This has been so
guys,
thank
excuse
you so
me, transphobic. Girl, you know damn right you got a piece of trade in you.
Everyone knows how can you call out a self-hating trans woman for being transphobic? Isn't that already a given?
Right, yeah, we never even got, you know what, before you go, yeah, I definitely.
Trans woman, why would you call me out for being transphobic? That's
right, but you never explain why are you self-hating.
No, I explained it. You
never explained it.
No, you didn't. Like, honestly, you didn't go all the way there.
You were acting too man-made. Get it? So
no, girl, you never explained in the whole 78 minutes.
Listen, why don't we cap this here and then we'll come back to the. We're not done, obviously. Let's discuss our internal.
I'm trying to
find out. If you want to find out the answer, Ashley, then go down to the village, ask for a guy named Eddie, and tell him to give you an 8-ball, and that will give you all the answers that you need. All right. I'm just kidding. Yeah. But if you
we never really got,
and you don't have, please do not blame me for that. It was a joke.
Yeah, I just don't know. We never got to like, where the hell does this come from? But okay.
I think
they don't need any more ammunition to come back at me.
If we have time, I think we should come back next Sunday.
Yeah, my sponsor's calling. See that?
All right.
Ring, ring, ring. Yeah, my sponsor. Hey, sponsor. Yeah, I'm on my way to the meeting. All right. I'll see you guys. Bye.
Take care, darling. Oh dear.
Right. Wow. So, yeah, because I'm like, I think I'm gagging that we spoke for an hour and we never even got to the self. Like, I just don't understand.
That is classic evasion. I think we were just manipulated away from the crux of the conversation. We'll get her next time.
So she was trying to back out of it.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. Yeah,
both times.
Yeah. She's got all of those jokes as ammunition.
Yes, she doesn't have to. Yeah, but you can't. My whole thing is this: okay, and I adore you and I respect you so much for being so open, and you gave us everything. You explained so much, and I learned so much. But she did not go that deep. But you cannot. My issue with her, where you can't expect people to understand you if you're giving people half a story. Where does the abuse come from? Where does the self-hate come from? You go live and you talk about you hate being Black, you hate being dark, you hate being trans. Well, why? Why? It goes. This is why the show didn't work, because you cannot be self-hating on a platform and preach self-hate.
Yeah, that's true. I do agree with that.
Trans women of color, we need to be out here loving ourselves, and it's just like, you know what I'm saying? Am I wrong? But am I being wrong about that?
No, listen, here's the thing, Ashley. I need to be real and say that I would never have got to this stage if I had not had tens of thousands of pounds paid for my therapy. I've had the same psychotherapist for 4 years. I went to a residential rehab, which cost another 20 grand. I went to a day rehab, which was probably 2-3 grand a week. And I go to Narcotics Anonymous meetings probably 3 to 5 times a week. I have a network of sober friends, of feminist friends, of Black feminist friends. You know, I've got a lot of support that has been able to bring me to this point where I can be this vulnerable, and I write, and I'm a journalist, and all of those things. So I'm massively privileged in that respect, you know. And even though I'm dark skinned, I had a lot of access to middle class resources through originally the places that I went to school, and then the white middle-aged middle-class men that I was having relationships with, you know. So it's given me a lot of access to healing resources that most people don't get. And so I think it's too much to ask that of Fox when she hasn't received that help yet. You can't ask someone, can you share your most traumatic, painful experiences from childhood in the next 10 to 15 minutes And yeah, and then they get off the call, and then they let to go about their day without causing themselves harm and self-sabotaging and self.
Right, but as a friend to someone who is okay, but let me say this on the flip side to that. As a friend, as someone who's friends with someone who is self-hating, which is very toxic for me, because I feel like I am taking on this role of being a therapist, which I really am not, but I have a good listening ear, and I guess, you know, I don't mind listening and trying to give advice. I really can't.
Boundaries.
I'm not dealing with that, so I can't really give you advice because I don't know where it's coming from. Like,
however, I do say, Ashley, that you are codependent and you are coming from a history of addiction in your family. So there's something about you which an addict is going to see and be like, Nino, you know, this is someone who I can cling to, who's not going to judge me, who's going to listen to all of my stuff, you know, and I can pour this all out to them, and they're going to take it.
I get what you're saying, but there's
which attracts people to you who
but if I get what you're saying, but let me say this. Yes, I do have people in my family who deal with, you know, alcoholism, you know, whatever. But with all that being said, I could cut them off. I could cut a trans girl who's being toxic too. Like, you know what I mean? So when a lot of people, they get high, they become really, really evil and unbearable. Unbearable meaning they want to lash out on you. And want you to see how they're seeing things when I can't, because I'm not living in that. And I never have lived in that, and I don't want to. See, and I'm not trying to judge.
No, but you have to cut them off once it gets up. You can't be around.
Yes, Fox is the only person in my life that I know. She's the only trans woman I've ever met that uses. And I'm just being honest. So it's like, wow, that's crazy. And when we started doing tea time, this is like, we're really getting really open here. But so what? Only 18 people watching. How you doing? I did not know about her substance issue. Milan Fox than I was. So Milan knew, and I kind of see years later why Milan was so hard on Fox. And people don't see that. They feel like there's a lot of tension in the cast. What's going on? I clocked it too. I thought that Milan was just this prissy girl who thought that she was all that. But there's just so much history because all the toxic shit that she puts on people when she's in her addiction, Milan was getting it, and now I'm getting it. And it's a lot. It's a lot, you know, and I'm not the kind of person that wants to like drop someone when they're vulnerable. You know what I mean? Because I want to see someone I want to see my girls win.
Of course you do.
I don't want to see my girl disintegrating in my face. I don't want to see that.
I mean, to be honest, I think that you would benefit from going to support groups for people and for friends and family. Friends and family.
I don't want to see someone could call me and
you need
talk
to
about all this shit.
You need to go so that you learn how to create boundaries, because if not, you're just going to find yourself.
My boundaries is hanging up. When it's getting too much, girl, bye, girl. But that's my boundaries. I don't have to answer the phone call to be somebody who's blazed out on drugs going off on me because...
No, but actually still, same time, you put down that call, but you're still carrying the emotion and you're still carrying the wounds from your own childhood, your own feelings of abandonment. You've had this in your family, that happened to you. You deserve to heal from this. And
I have healed from it, but it's not good to relive that with people.
Completely healed, because I think that you're actually also caught in a cycle, and that's why it's turning up in your social life repeatedly. And it's going to keep continuing to do so, particularly when we're from a traumatized community who we have so much that we go through on all sides. Why would you not do drugs? You ask, why would you pick up? Why would you do drugs? Why would you not? Why would you not pick up a pipe or pick up a blunt or pick up a glass to drink, or, you know, go and binge eat on food, or go and have a gangbang, or go, you know, why would you not gamble with your life in order to put down those feelings of despair and to dismiss those thoughts of suicide from your mind?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I guess I've always had a strong will, and like I said, I've seen people drunk, I've seen people high. I never like that effect it gives them. I understand. I mean, for me, I guess if we talk about addictions, you know, I wouldn't say I have a sex addiction, but, you know, I have used sex and food to numb depression and anxiety. I have, but I've never, see, I feel like that's, in a way, people could say that that's the same as drugs, but I don't see it the same. It's an addiction, yeah, but it has different effects.
It's not gonna, the consequences are different.
Right, right. But so a lot of times when me and Fox
behavior in the same way.
Right. So there's times when me and her get into disagreements, and she's like, well, you have an addiction too because you eat a lot. I'm like, that's not the same as getting high on meth and, you know, looking like, you know,
no, and she's
like you're high. Like when I'm, yeah. Somebody said that
because she's running away from the fact that the consequences of her addiction are going to be a lot more immediate and severe than yours. But also, maybe there's an argument being made that, you know, as a drug taker, you're always being seen as a junkie and that you're less than other people. And the stigma around drug addiction is so strong that you're made to feel like you are of less value because you didn't have the strength to not pick up the drug. So maybe that's what's being argued. But at the same time, addicts are really emotionally manipulative because we have to be so in order to be on drugs all the time. You're not able to live a lifestyle like that if you're not able to manipulate people. It's part of the deal.
Right. Somebody in the comments said that Ashley comes off as if she doesn't like Fox. No, it's not that I don't like her. I don't like some of the stuff that she does.
You're frustrated and you're exhausted.
Yes.
You're frustrated, you're exhausted, part of you've run out of things to say, you've run out of things to do, you know, you've copy and pasted links and, you know, spoken to her at 4:30 a.m. in the morning and, you know, sent money and lost money and, you know, had to defend her to, you know, 137 people over the course of 6 months. You're tired.
Do we want to talk about that? The fact that when she gets on her stuff, she likes to start fights with people and then they want to fight me. And I'm born and raised in New York City. I know how to defend myself, but the word is defend myself. I fight for myself. I don't fight for no other girl. So if I will fight for my sister, if I know that my sister is in the right, but if you're in the wrong, I'm not going to fight for you. So people coming at me, wanting to fight me because someone's high and ranting on the internet, calling out people for, you know, whatever, you know, rampage people go through when they're high. I'm not fighting for you. I'm not. So yeah, I'm frustrated, but at the same time, I've learned how to focus on me, what I got to do. The fact that I know I'm a fucking amazing person and I'm talented and my life is not somebody else's addiction and trying to get them to see they're good. You know, like I have to focus on me. I'm first. But I try to be, like I said, listen and, you know, take on some of it, but it is exhausting. Because, you know, but I definitely appreciate the fact that you're living testimony that a girl can overcome it. And I think that part of her is probably afraid of.
Actually, it's a day by day. It really is. Because when Fox is talking, I am part of me is still there. I still have using dreams. I'm still dreaming about cocaine and hiding drugs in various parts of the house and during my life. I think about drugs all day long. It could, listen, I mean, you know, I'll touch wood somewhere. I don't have, oh yeah, my jaw's with him. Yeah, I just touched wood, but you know, I could relapse tomorrow. I could be in a much worse situation than anything that we've seen from Fox in a snap of a hat. Like none of, you know, I could be looking hard as anything, running through the streets, wearing lingerie, begging people for drugs, calling myself the African Amy Winehouse, you know, giving away all of my possessions so that I can smoke crack. That could be me next week. I don't think, because that's literally how hard it is to stay sober. No, right. It is a daily thing. I will never be free of my addiction that way. Like, you know, the cravings they definitely have gone down, and I definitely have the quality of my life has improved that much that I have, you know, that the scales have been tipped. But that took so long. That first 3 months when I first got sober was fucking hell. It was disgusting. The detoxing, and, you know, particularly because I was so clocky at the time, and, you know, having to look in the mirror before I'd had my FFS. And if I'm being honest, it was my nose job that really was what made me put down anything smokable. Because if I hadn't had a nose job, I would have kept smoking. I was smoking crack the night before I went to go and get my nose job.
Wow.
I was so my come down was so severe that I was in the hotel before I was going into the hospital, and I drank a whole bottle of wine before I went to surgery. And so, because of where I'm coming from, it's really impossible for me to look down on folks. Like, I've been where she is and much worse. It's not to say that where she is right now isn't bad, isn't destructive, isn't dangerous. It very much is. But it's the worst thing about addicts is it's the behavior. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're good people, but when you're on drugs, you're not in your body. That's not you. We don't even know who Fox could be. Fox is massively intelligent. If she's this funny on drugs, can you imagine what she's capable of in sobriety? She could literally run the world.
Right.
Ashley Marie Preston would not be where she is if she'd not got sober.
Right, I agree.
You know, she would not be able to be this busy, this quick, this committed. You know, she's got podcasts, articles, you know, she's at this dinner, that brunch, you know, starting hashtags all over the shop. You were only able to do that in sobriety. We don't know how amazing Fox could be. She got sober, and she deserves the resources.
Right, yeah. I feel like
she deserves the time to go somewhere worthwhile. You know, she deserves a residential rehab. She deserves constant therapy. She deserves a network of queer and trans people in recovery who can understand where she's coming from, what she's going through.
I agree.
And to be honest, she's in LA. They are there, but she's resistant to that right now because I don't think she can imagine a life for herself that is going to be worth living, if I'm being honest. I think she had such big dreams. She had such big ambitions. And
right. Yeah. And you know what's so crazy? Someone in the comments said that this is getting so messy. Say this while Fox is in the chat. You're making the other girl uncomfortable and putting her in an uncomfortable situation.
That's not fair. That's not fair. Honestly, I mean, listen, the thing is, we're speaking from a position of love. It's nothing denigrating being said to about folks for sure. I'm not uncomfortable. Like it's just this is a rough subject, and it's a life or death subject. You know, this is like, if Fox doesn't get sober, she could die. That's the real tea. You know, how many girls have we lost for doing a lot less? You know, and the fact that I'm here at 33 sober is a miracle. The fact that I'm alive is a miracle.
Right. And a lot of people who've watched Tea Time with the Girls, they have to understand that would the show they have to put this in mind. Could the show have possibly have been on still if one of the cast members was not an active drug user?
Yeah, absolutely. But also it's about the way that we support each other in our community. You know, we're used to giving to GoFundMes for people's surgery, but would people donate to people's GoFundMes to go to rehab? You know, like, because Fox does deserve that. She deserves 90 days somewhere nice, somewhere comfortable. 90 days somewhere in Arizona, or
some girls will feel that they wouldn't want to donate money to a girl because they feel like they would use it for drugs.
To be honest, like, it's about harm reduction. So if you're donating money so that people are able to use safely until they can stop using, I think that's worthwhile. But it's not something I would advocate. It's not something I would give my money for. But it's I think we need to stop thinking in like a really absolute way about the way that we help people. You know, you can help people who are using in order for them to stay around so that they can get clean.
Right. Somebody in the comments
when I'm walking around town and I'm giving money to homeless people, I'm not aware that some of them are going to be using that money for alcohol and crack, but I'd rather they do that than, you know, be smashing shop windows in order to, you know, go and take devices to their dealer to go and do that. Like, you know, and places where that, like in Portugal and Switzerland, where they have this, obviously wouldn't happen in our current political climates, but in those places where people are looked after whilst they are using, the success rate apparently is better. I don't want people to be on the streets vulnerable in the fucking cold. Like, if you need to be smoking crack in like a warm space where you're not scared of violence, then, you know, if drugs were legalized to the point where, you know, they weren't cut with all sorts of things and they weren't so fucking expensive that people didn't have to steal from their grandmas in order to get their drugs, would that not lead to less crime? I mean, we need to be open to these conversations and stop judging. Because again, actually I say this with all the love in the world, like, you are not a drug addict, but at the end of the day, you very well could have been.
Yeah, I do agree. Yeah. Right. I have abandonment issues. I'm an emotional, I've been emotionally abused. Yeah, I've dealt with a lot of things, and I'm proud to say that I didn't turn to drugs, but that does not say that I don't suffer from anxiety and thoughts of, you know, unworthiness and, you know, loneliness. Like, I do, everyone, this is a natural thing. Like, some people just, I mean, I'm going to be honest, when I got my dog, a lot of my, like, feelings of, like, you know, a lot of my anxiety and depression kind of faded away. You know, dogs are like, I know this sounds so cheesy, but I can't even say dogs are a man's best friend. Dogs are a woman's best friend. Yeah, and, really yeah, like, I used to find myself wanting men to spend the night and stay with me. And then when I got my dog, I'm like, fuck you, get the fuck out of here. Me and my puppy are going to Netflix and chill. I got some popcorn. I'm going to give her some, you know, some
love is unconditional from them. And that's what we're all seeking. You know, like, my dog doesn't mind if my face is beat. She doesn't mind, you know, if I'm wearing Jean Paul Gaultier perfume. She doesn't, you know, we deserve that. And again, I think that's something that is affected by our transness, because so much of the love and attention we receive is predicated on how pretty and passable and sexy we are. And, you know, we're human, we're aging, we're changing, and we are not always going to be able to be these sex objects. So what these men that we're courting, you know, if they're leaving their cisgender wives when they hit 50, you know, to go and get with a 25-year-old, what do you think they're going to do with us?
Right.
What's it going to mean to be a passable 67-year-old trans woman? What's going to be your currency? Do you know what I mean? You're really going to be out here competing with a 19-year-old girl?
Oh yeah, it's true. It's true. And you know what's so crazy? Like you said about the girls coming together to support each other. Like even this conversation, I want to thank all 16 people for watching right now, because like this conversation is fucking powerful, and it's so sad that it will take someone to die for people to start watching old videos and caring about them. It's really, really sad. We have to give people's roses. We have to give people roses while they're alive.
Here's the thing where I think blackness comes into it, and with the murders of so many black trans women, there is something about the spectacle of black death that just really galvanizes people. People love to see us die. I know it sounds so bleak and so tragic, but you know,
and then they share it saying another one. Like there's some kind of like ooh, this is new. And another girl died. Y'all keep listening. It's
weird. I didn't hear anyone say anything positive about Whitney Houston until she fucking died.
And she was one of the greatest voices of all times.
Literally. There will never be another. People love to, like, I don't know, I hate saying it in such bleak terms, but it's true. People are obsessed with us dying.
Right. There's actually, and Fox always mentions this, there's a model, I think he's a queer black model who has like a lot of tattoos.
Eve the Dropper.
Yeah, what is it, Verse? What's his name? Verse Dropper?
Eve the Dropper.
Eve's Dropper. And he always posts trans women, dead trans women,
Women Crush Wednesdays.
As his Woman Crush Wednesday. And I'm like, have you ever put a living trans woman as your woman crush? You know, I understand the fact that he's using his platform and his 50K followers
to interrupt the narrative and change things up and stuff. I get that, but it's still.
But still, you're not celebrating. Yeah. You're not celebrating living trans women. You're celebrating dead ones, and it's like. And it's sad that he actually has enough dead trans women to put every fucking Wednesday. That's fucking sad too. And that gets me upset more. And a lot of these people, and I'm getting loud, yes, I'm a fucking loud Afro-Latina bitch from Brooklyn, but with trans experience. I'm just so upset that it's like you said, people, they really love, like, in all these Pink magazine, what is it, Pink News? It's like we give them our deaths, give them content. They don't fucking care. They only care that we're dying. Like, oh, another one. Let me latch on. There's more people to share this post so I can get more hits on my site. It's fucking sad. It is so fucking sad. And how long are we going to be in the fucking bottom?
I think,
and the girls get their celebrity and they get their blue check, and then they don't know nobody. Then they want to unfollow you. It's all good because karma is best served. The girls are not untouchable, and whatever you do will come to light. It may not come to light when when your glitter is sparkling, but it will come to light soon. Treat people with respect, trans or not. It's like the girls have to really stop trying to silence each other and stop trying to act like people don't exist when they do. It's really toxic. There's a lot of toxic shit. And it's getting a little off topic, and we got so much to say, girl. But y'all need to check out Tea Time London if you have not.
We
y'all know
will
me
be
already.
hitting you up with another episode probably in November. Yeah, just putting things together now and stuff. Yeah.
Right. And a lot of people are reading. They were saying that they don't want to see butch queens. They don't want to see gay men. They want to see the girls.
I think it's so effed up though. I don't know. I love Gays Out Loud. I really, and oh my god, I've forgotten the name. Who's the like the bottom queen?
The professional bottom is just Henry.
Yeah, that's it. Henry is so funny, so educated. I really respect the way he bottoms as well. He's a guy after my own heart. I like his practice. A lot of respect.
Right,
So yes, I think that it should be that there's a reason that it's LGBT, and that we can continue on together.
Right, definitely. Well, thank you all for listening. We love you so much.
Jumping in.
Yes, share, support, like, comment, whatever. Definitely make sure you add Kachunga. Oh my god, I always Kachunga.
What is it with the vowels? It's Kachunga.
We're giving your name a sex change. Okay.
My name vowling. Yeah, okay.
Kuchenga.
Yeah, Kachunga.
Make sure you add Kuchenga, and look out for another What's It Giving probably later on this week. And you see Fox is very unpredictable. We can't, she only wants to stay in. She dropped out of 2 calls already. Wow. And if any girls want to, guys, hit me up on Facebook if you have any ideas or you want to become a guest and you have an interesting story to tell. Definitely hit us up. And we love you all so much. Make sure you stay safe and blessed and live your best life.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Love you, guys. Bye.